we are a trio, and of course it's also like a little bit of a band situation. And it's not a democratic band situation, because the filmmaker is one of us, and filmmaking is a collaborative effort, but it cannot be a leaderless effort. So it actually makes things a lot easier, because there's somebody who has the final word. We sometimes argue with them because we're also close friends, so we don't really have to be all held back with our opinions. But at the end of the day, it's really a good thing that he just puts his foot down and says, okay, this is how I want it, and this is how I want to have a vision of my film. So I think that makes things a lot easier. All the other difficulties in making film music are also there.
I have this enormously long collaboration with the gentleman to my right in theater, opera, and cinema, and I'm lucky to have grown up in the cinema with him. He did many more scores than I had done when I started my first feature, because I did theater for all my life, and my first feature was in the year 2000, Titus, which I think is tomorrow. Or, yeah, tomorrow night. Nice, nasty Shakespeare. But the thing that is interesting when you talk about the budgets is, because I come from the theater, and for instance, something like Titus, we did in the theater off Broadway, and Elliot scored it with 2 trumpets and some tape music, but basically very minimalistically. And then you go and you do the film of Titus, and it's orchestral. And it was a fantastic experience to go from almost no scenery, very much, well, the beauty of Shakespeare is that it's in the a lot of the imagery is in the imagination. So you can have great armies, tremendous events, supernatural events happening, but the beauty of that Shakespeare is the language on stage helps you with that. Once you go to a film, which is a more literal medium, you want to open up and show some of that imagery, and then the music also expands. So it's, I do all kinds of budgets, seriously, in theater, from very low budget to very high budget. And Frida, which I think is one of our, well, I like everything I've done with Elliot, so, but Frida was a low budget movie. And therefore, it was what we would call a portrait. It was about portraiture. So even the film ratio or aspect ratio was not widescreen. It was 1:8:5 it was. And Elliot's concept, which he can talk about as well, was to keep it, not miniature, but to keep it personal and intimate. So your budgets have to correspond, and I think we both feel this, to how you're telling the story. It's not, you don't need to have a big budget if the story is telling you to do something that is simpler, that requires a kind of beauty. Even a solo cello could be more effective than a full orchestra, depending on the image and the storytelling. So that's definitely how we work together, and we will discuss those things before the movie begins.
As a composer, and there's at least 3 distinguished composers here, that I feel that you respond to what it's a reactive art. You respond to what you're given. And in a sense of Frida, she was in a terrible, horrible bus accident, and her spine was, her pelvis was completely pierced, and she spent most of her sexy part of her life in bed, alone, unable to have any relationships, any interaction. And I think Julie's approach was very significant, because she stressed the life force that Frida had. And my response to that is how to compose music that represents that, and the positive force. And I found that what instrument can you bring into bed with you? and have an intimate conversation. And I found that the one single guitar was the answer. You can snuggle up to it, you can rhapsodize you at the same time, and stressing the beautiful colors of Mexico, the beautiful liveliness and dance and melody in Mexico is very, very, very rare when a film composer gets a chance and an opportunity to write melody. And melody is a beautiful